Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi Bill, can you hear me?
Rob, can you hear us okay?
I hear you.
Yeah, I can barely hear you.
You're really quiet.
Nice job on the Arbor Day presentation, Andrew.
And just so you know, we're live.
Testing, any better?
It's the universal symbol for not really.
No, I hear you good.
Oh, okay. Can you guys hear me pretty good when I'm talking?
No.
I think the only thing I have on is I your audio on here. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't even get this. Since we're- Do you think I should even be on this call, or should I just turn this off? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, nice seeing you guys. Peace out. Here, let me make sure that.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. Hi, Rob.
Hey, Tim, how are you?
I'm good. I love it that it's staying light an hour later. Yeah, even though it happens every year, I enjoy it every year when it happens.
Oh, I don't know if everyone agrees with that.
I don't
mean,
like the first 2 days getting used
Yeah,
to
right.
the hour change time, but
The sleeping thing and all of that,
yeah, but
changing 15 clocks.
I do enjoy the sunlight longer.
well, but I commute in the morning and I hate driving in the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just when it gets light again, then they turn back the
yeah,
clock and it's
it's
dark.
back to dark.
But yeah, after that,
And then there's always the annual thing in the news that they talk about. Some people want to keep on daylight savings time all year round. That's every year that discussion seems to take place.
but nobody does anything about it though.
Yeah, right.
Oh well.
Hi, Christina.
Hi, guys. So everyone does know we are live and enjoying the Arbor Day contest winners. So just want to point that out.
Yeah, I like that picture right there.
It's beautiful.
Maybe that's my favorite.
I like that one too.
Yeah, I like them all.
Great to be able to showcase the community, the children from the community and what they do. And it's been a rough year for them, so this is really nice.
And Bill, can you hear everything on your end?
Yep, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Good to start, Andrew?
Yep, we are, yeah, whenever you're ready.
Okay, it is 5:31 and I will call the Streets and Sidewalks Committee meeting to order. We have 4 items on the agenda this evening. The first item is the recycling program, an update from Mr. Bill Steiner.
Hi, Bill.
Thank you. Hi, how's everybody doing? It's been a
Good.
while since I've
Good.
seen everybody in person, or many of you I've yet to meet, so that could probably be a good thing on your end. But I just wanted to update council on some changes with the district. What we're trying to do in 2021 is we have a situation where our rates are all over the place throughout the county, depending upon when we sign the contract. And as we have found through the years, that has kind of hurt us, because what was a good contract maybe 3 years ago could be our worst contract. So one of the things that we have decided to do is try to stabilize and equalize the rates across the entire county, and kind of divide it into a weekly service rate and a every other week service rate. And that's what we're doing moving forward. Our thoughts are, once we establish the rates, that should we need to raise them, that cost is spread among many more people. We have a few contracts that don't allow that, and that kind of hurts us. Some of the things that we're faced with is, I'm sure that you're aware that the recycling markets collapsed a few years ago due to the foreign markets disappearing. Well, that kind of sent shockwaves through the entire country. And while we're developing domestic outlets for those materials, a paper mill just doesn't go up on a long weekend. I wish that were so, but we just had in the western part of the state a Pratt paper mill go online, and that was last October. They would consume about 400,000 tons of old cardboard per year in waste paper, but there is such a backlog right now. It's taking its way to work through. Now, with the pandemic and everybody deciding that my guys needed to pick up at least 20 Amazon Prime boxes per household, that has helped drive up the demand for cardboard. So thank you for those shoppers out there helping us to try to get as much back in we can for cardboard. But the big driver is our processing cost. When we first signed our contract with Green Star America, it was at $57 a ton. And at that time, we did receive what we call a rebate because the markets were strong enough and the demand was high enough that we actually realized some revenue from that before the markets really fell. That was about $315,000. We used that money to help offset recycling cost. Well, when the markets went away, our processing cost as of November 1st of 2020 went up to $77, and we're expecting another increase up to $93. That's per ton. Do I ever expect us to see us get a rebate again from the sale of recyclables? I highly doubt it. I think those processing costs will magically be just above the threshold for break even. Which, you know, we don't do any processing at our facility. That was phased out some time ago when we converted to single stream recycling. The markets are starting to pick up a little bit, but yet not enough to cover the processing cost. We're attempting to move more communities to the every other week's level of service. The reason for that is, say for instance, Ravenna, this week we're in your community 4 days. So that truck is in the city of Ravenna 4 days this week. And we always operate on a 2-week cycle. This is a week. So it's what we call the Ravenna week. So that truck that's in your community on Friday, that will go to another community for 1 day. The following week, it will be spread out over 3 communities. So essentially about 4 to 5 communities share the cost of that truck. Now, if you were weekly, you would have that truck 8 days out of the 10, and more of that capital cost would be put on your rate. So we're just trying to take all that out of the equation, make it even for everybody across the county. Anybody who, if we're ever in a position to expand our curbside program, we've always told everybody, if you're going to convert to curbside recycling, it has to be every other week. It's just easier for us on scheduling and helps to reduce some of our capital cost up front. So that's pretty much where we're at. We're always trying to find ways to keep our costs down. Unfortunately, the global economy, the pandemic has caught up to us. And whereas we used to have three streams of revenue, we're down to 2. And the makeup of that third one has to come from somewhere. So I'm done boring you to tears. There's no quiz at the end of my presentation, but I will entertain questions from council at this time.
Okay.
Bill, oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask real quick, Kay, is there anything you wanted to add to this? And if not, then
Not at this time.
sorry.
So Bill, I was, when we're talking about recycling, there's not a market for paper or cardboard, you're saying. Also, are we recycling anything? Is the glass being recycled, the plastic being recycled?
Actually, into your response, Tim, when we negotiated the contract with Green Star America about 8 years ago, we put a clause in there that anything that we deem as recyclable gets recycled. There is a market for the paper, the cardboard. It's just not paying us what it used to. The glass is being recycled. The glass is a $22 a ton expenditure. That goes to a company in just outside of Pittsburgh. If you ever notice the reflective paint on the roads, the yellow or the white striping that are reflective, that's glass. That's what this company does. The plastics are recycled here. Everything that we send to Green Star America is recycled in the United States, predominantly the Midwest area. There are some mills that have opened. The plastics will go down to the Carolinas because that's an area of strong desire for that. So we do make sure whatever you put in that we deem recyclable gets recycled. But if it's something like trash, rocks, or dirt, obviously that's not recycled.
So on the glass, are we paying the $22 a ton for them to take it?
That is part of the cost is the $22 a ton.
So we are paying for them.
Well, essentially everybody who uses our service is paying that $22.
And is the same on recycling the plastic? We're paying for that?
Actually, right now, we're receiving money. We actually receive money for the other commodities. It's just those prices haven't risen high enough to offset the processing cost. At one time, aluminum cans in a bale were like about $1,400 a ton. It's right around $1,000. I remember when cardboard was $185 a ton back in the heyday of 2010. So we're seeing them increase, but not back to those levels.
A question, our current rate that we're paying is like $2.50. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
And the increase is going to go to up to $4.50?
$5.50.
$5.50.
Yes.
And so over 100% increase in the fees,
Mm-hmm.
and the explanation is that it's the processing cost is the main thing that's causing.
Processing cost. We're starting to see our diesel cost go up again. We probably pay about 50 to 60 cents a gallon less than what you see at the pump, but those costs are starting to go up again as well.
So I assume a big problem is, what was it, 2018 when China no longer accepted recyclables? And
Yes.
if I get your Amazon reference, are you seeing increased recycling or more people recycling because they're home, whatever? Is that, or they're ordering online?
During the pandemic, we did see a lot more material at the curb because the majority of the people that were working from home were buying at home. The stimulus checks seem to drive that. After a stimulus check, you would see at the curb a lot of brand new flat screen TV boxes that were sitting out there. So that has driven our volumes up because, instead of creating that volume at work, they're now creating that at home.
So I don't know, this is not an area I really understand too well, but wouldn't an increase in volume help in the sense that now you're getting more tonnage and now you're getting a little bit more money?
Yeah, it does.
Offset by the labor involved?
Yeah, it does. It's just that back when that volume was increasing, the market, our pricing wasn't down. It kind of, the price kind of lags what we see at the curb a little bit.
I have a question, and Bill, you might not be able to answer. It might be a K question. The $2.50 that we're paying, how long has it been at $2.50?
I think that's been that way for a couple of years, I believe.
I think there was a 25% increase a couple of years ago. Is that?
Yeah, 25 cents a month.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. We did have that a few years ago.
I was just
we're
curious the
hoping
last time it was increased. Yeah.
Yeah, we're hoping with this new program we can try to keep the rates, without raising them much more. It's just we're just trying to make it fair across the board for everybody and keep everybody. It's sort of like your water rates. Everybody pays the same regardless how far away you are from the water plant.
So are you saying that we had an advantage in the past of only paying $2.50 when some others were paying higher?
Well, I can tell you, yeah, there are some communities that enjoyed some fairly good rates low. For instance, the city of Kent right now is just under $6 a month for every other week, for weekly service. Brimfield just went from $3.75. They'll start paying the $5.50 July 1st, as well as some other communities.
It just seems like it's a real jolt to look at 140% increase
Right.
in
Well-
one step.
Right. Believe me, if we could minimize that, we would, but we're seeing in other locations, recycling costs $7, $8 a month in some areas of the state and some areas of the country as well.
And if there are any other jurisdictions or bodies that have bi-weekly service like us, their costs will be $5.50 also?
Yes.
Okay.
Where we can raise the rates, we're going to do that so that they're equal. We have some contracts that have fixed the rate for this year, but we're looking at trying to maybe get those communities to raise the rates as well.
So I know this was somewhat covered, but just to reiterate, inevitably we're going to get calls from residents about the increase. So could you just kind of reiterate, if we're talking to them, what's the reason for the underlying reason for this increase?
The biggest reason is the processing cost. And part of that too is our contamination rates have gone up, and that's something we're going to try to address this year. Right now our budget is struggling. And so the big thing is the best thing residents can do is recycle the items that are on the top of the container. Keep them loose, clean, and dry. Don't put plastic bags in there because now plastic bags are considered contamination. And you know, that will be a big help as well, is helping us reduce the contamination level, because we do pay a premium now for contamination.
That was my question, Bill, was how much contamination do you guys see, and what kind of cost is associated with that for you guys to unload that?
We went from 21 to 23, and I'll be honest with you, Matt. I kind of question those numbers because while I was in the plant, I wasn't really allowed to see the process, and we're paying $80 a ton for anything over 21%. So we're paying that premium because of the amount of contamination.
The company that you're contracting with for the processing, you named what it was.
It's Green Star America. It's a division of Waste Management.
Is that a competitive market? Have other people bid for that work?
Other people have bid for it, but we're kind of in a unique situation where Green Star's located in Akron, right next to the old blimp hangar. There's a facility in Twinsburg, and then the next closest facility is up in Oberlin. So trucking would be an issue for us to get it from our facility to one of those facilities. Akron's probably about 10 to 15 minutes away from where we are located.
Hey, Bill, this is Brian. I'm finance director. I just had a question. So it looks like some other communities are just foregoing the pickup program. Is that true? And are they just doing pickup only? Like they're setting a site up and doing pickup like that?
No, those are drop-off communities. Those are where you have one central location in the community, but those are actually going away because those facilities experience a lot of illegal dumping. Garrettsville just closed theirs. They brought some of the material down to us, and as they tried to unload it, rocks and dirt were falling out. Unfortunately, those 8-yard containers just screamed to people, dump here, because there's no one around. Freedom Township actually had somebody illegally dump on them while they were like 20 feet away inside the building holding a township meeting. So it's not getting better, it's getting worse. Years ago, we took down the locations of those drop-offs off of our website because we're finding it's not all Portage County residents. We have one over in Brimfield outside of our offices, and we've actually cited people from Summit County, Stark County, illegally dumping on us.
So the communities that won't have those available anymore, they just don't recycle at all?
Well, we would like to convert them over to curbside, whether they do it with us or a private company. But right now, our budget doesn't allow us to expand the program right now. We're just trying to build our budget back up. The drop-offs were about a $200,000 financial drain on us. And so that kind of, through the years kind of brings down the budget, the carryover quite a bit when you don't have an ability to raise rates.
I do have a question, Brian, and Kay. This would be for you. So our recycling fund, this is just one of the few makings of our fund that, we charge our residents for recycling. We have leaves and, stormwater, other things that go into our fund. Do you expect an increase on any other services, along with this? So, say with, the services of trash bags and so forth like that, are we going to see other increases as well to actually make our prices go up even higher?
Well, in 2022, the price of the bags, the brown paper bags is supposed to go up about 8%. We're good for this year. We have a supply to get us through this year, but next year the price for the bags will be going up.
Right now, we don't charge the residents for that either, though, do we?
We've never charged them for the bags.
No, but that's all included. They're free. So, but that's all included under that same, recycling. So that's why, the increase with this, I'm wondering what else, we might have to increase to make it even a higher amount. I was just curious.
Yeah, too, if we keep having a community cleanup, that goes up, all the time too. So there's a lot that's, factored into that. So.
And I was going to say there's several residents that don't realize what's included in this fee. It was mentioned the paper bags, and some don't realize that when the chipper goes out, and also the leaf pickup don't realize that this is incorporated in this recycling fee. I know it's been going on for several years, but a lot of them say, well, the bags are free. Well, they really aren't, because they're paying for them in other ways that they don't realize. And I was just wondering if it could be communicated to the residents sometime. That way they would have a better understanding, and also to communicate about exactly in detail why things could be going up and possibly in the future as well.
Well, we can't predict what's going to go up in the future on a lot of things.
But when it's known.
So I guess I have a question then. Do we just pass on the recycling fee, or is it higher? I've lost that. Are we asking residents to pay an additional fee up and over and above the recycling fee in their water bill?
As it stands now, I would say yes. The residents are paying $5.50 a month.
Oh, okay.
For recycling. So with this increase through solid waste, I guess that's going to be council's decision how much you want to increase that to cover a little bit of our cost.
Well, because it covers stuff like the bags, and they're very expensive, and then you got other collection expenses. You pay some supplies out of there. We got some tub grinding. We got other expenses out of there.
So like right now, we budget $17,000 a year for the bags. That will probably.
But does the revenue come through the water bill to offset that, or is it just a straight appropriation?
Yeah, what funds it is the extra amount that we charge beyond what.
But we're still, but it's not enough. Is it, or is it enough?
Well, yeah, that fund does not have much of a balance in it. So, we would have to certainly at least pass on the increased amount that they're charging. Because we also, most of the spring cleanup comes out of that fund too.
Yeah, but I don't think it pays for that. I don't think we're collecting enough. I don't think enough's coming in to pay for it. I'm saying the city is, having to dole out the money for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, we already budgeted, and that'll be come up in a budget thing, but we already budgeted a portion of the spring cleanup out of the general fund because we didn't have enough money to cover already.
And we put a bunch in there and it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about this price real quick. But first, is there any other questions for Mr. Steiner while he's here?
I don't know, Bill, would it be possible for you to give us information on the different categories of recycling? Like glass, cardboard, paper, plastic, aluminum, and what we're paying to recycle it. For example, with that glass, we're paying $22 a ton to recycle it, which is good because if it's $750 a ton for them to take it off, that's great. Do we have that information on those other categories? I think it could be helpful as we explain to people kind of the nuts and bolts of how this is operating.
I'll tell you what, it's real easy to do. Every month at the end of or at the beginning of the following month, we get a spreadsheet from Green Star America that does exactly that. It tells you the percentage. What they do is they take a ton of recyclables and they break it down that X percentage is cardboard, X percentage is glass. It gives us the cost. It gives us the processing cost, what we receive from the revenue. That's real easy to do. I can send that to Kay tomorrow morning and let her just, what I'll do is I'll send her out February's and then let her distribute it then to council. It breaks down everything that we receive money for, including what we have as far as the amount of contamination and what we're charged for that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Yep, not a problem.
All right, well, I do want to talk about the circle back to the price real quick, but if there's nothing else for Mr. Steiner, I don't want to keep you, so I appreciate you coming on and talking
That's
to us.
okay. I'm old, Andrew, but it's not quite bedtime yet.
All right, well, maybe we'll have you back on for an update too.
Not a problem. Anytime. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Everyone have a great evening.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you, Bill.
I do want to just circle back on the pricing and just clarify what you said, Kay. Are you looking for council to define the actual price of that recycling fee then? Because I just want to make sure that's what you're asking of us.
Yeah, I think that's what
Okay.
we need to come up with. And I think that would be, council's decision.
Okay, well then, Brian, can you send out to council everything that is responsible for what goes into that fee, what makes it up?
Yeah,
I think
it's in the budget that I'm presenting tonight as well. But
I understand, but I think just clarifying that point for council,
Okay, sure.
especially when you're asking us to do this, the easier you can make it, and we're all on the same page with this information, I think the better. So,
Absolutely. Okay.
And I know a lot of residents don't understand what all goes into the fee.
Well, Paul, I think,
Yes,
well, when you get calls from residents or when you're out and about, if they have questions, I think that'd be a good time that you could fill them in with this information also.
yes, I've done that. But what I was referring to is that way, as an example, if something could be sent out into a water bill, possibly to list what's included in the fee, what I'm referring to, the bags, the shipping, the leaves, that way everyone knows, because a lot of residents, I've spoken to them in the past years, and a lot of them get really surprised when I tell them what's involved in that fee that they're paying, because as an example, the bags, they believe they're free, which they really aren't, as an example.
I think, I don't know that we need to prolong this discussion, but I don't know the numbers. Brian, you you're gonna have to look at it. Sounds like a lot of homework. But my sense is what the residents are paying in the water bill doesn't come close to cover. I mean, you got to talk about labor, equipment, the bags, maybe we need to limit the number, because I know some people just walk into City Hall and walk out with a big stack of bags. But I got a sense that we're not covering the cost.
Well, and I think part of that is how many bags, if we order X number, how many do we have at the end of the year when we're purchasing them again? Is it just fully stocking, even though we've got some left over? I'm curious on that point too.
Well, how it works, when they come into City Hall, we limit 7 bags per person. And then when the crews pick up the bags, even if they pick up, say 10 bags at your house, Rob, they only leave 4.
Oh, well, there's
That's
never
what we
10
do.
bags in my house, but yeah.
No, that was.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not trying to rat on anybody, but I know after council meetings and so forth, I've seen, because they're right there by the door, people will just grab them. And that's not a significant thing. My point is, I'm not so sure when we do the accounting that what we're asking residents to pay covers the cost. I think the city's got a big investment in there. Not to say that we shouldn't tell residents, I mean, they need to know that they're paying for these services. But I think we have to come to the realization that it's costing the city money. We're not making any money off of residents paying that extra money in their water bill.
And the other thing is, we don't, there's a lot of residents that don't even take advantage of it and don't even use the bag. So I think that might offset some of our people that, are very, I can't even think of the word I want to use, but that might use more than the other person. So it's kind of a hard, I think, call to find out if we have enough and if we're, ordering too many or not, because I don't think there's a consistency of people using them.
I'm curious as to how many less we gave away since City Hall was closed most of the year. And you couldn't come up and just grab them.
Well, we stopped giving them out in the fall anyways, and we don't start up again until mid-April. So they're not given out all year long.
I think Christina's talking about this past year.
Mhm.
City Hall was closed during the summer and other warm months when they could have caught, whether we've significantly reduced the number of bags that were given out or distributed.
We did have some that still came to City Hall, but probably not the volume that we normally would have.
I think that we need to focus more on talking to people about the contamination, not what not to put in their recycling. If that is something that can help with the costs, that's something that I think that we really need to educate and inform the residents.
I think they have. If you follow them especially on Facebook.
But if you tell them that their costs are going to be higher if they're not more careful, you have to put it right now. They don't realize to the extent of where it is actually affecting them.
I know that
didn't they start leaving residents notes or some kind of notice when they were seeing an abundance of trash in the recycling bins? I believe they did start trying to pick out specific areas where they were receiving lots of trash. People were actually just using them as trash cans.
Yeah, I believe they were.
And they would keep a log of that, and if it kept happening, that address, they would no longer pick up their bags.
Yeah. So that's going to be a problem we're going to face as long as we have this program. Okay, we're not deciding on a price or anything like that this evening, are we?
No, because I haven't heard back from Bill Steiner exactly what it's going up to. It's not in stone yet. He just kind of, that number I threw out at you.
Okay.
you know, that's what he's thinking, but he's waiting to hear from the commissioners on that. So as soon as I find out something, I'll pass it on to you all.
Sounds good. Thanks, Kay.
You're welcome.
There's no other comments on recycling at this time. We'll go on to the next recycling item. It's actually the spring cleanup. Kay had sent out the numbers. We're gonna pay, was it 240 per ton this year?
Yes.
And those funds have been appropriated out of the general fund this year, correct?
Ryan.
They, in the budget that you have, 40,000 is appropriated in the recycling fund and 25,000 is appropriated in the general fund as it stands right now.
Okay.
That's obviously open for discussion, but that's the reason we put some in the general fund. And that dates back to our tax budget from last year too. We just didn't have enough money to cover the full expense in the recycling fund. So we put some in the general fund.
And that just proves right there, we don't have enough monthly income from our recycling fees to even cover the cost of cleanup. So, yeah, I think it's something we need to consider if we're going to continue doing that. Because I believe we've taken out of the general fund the last few years for the spring cleanup.
Keep in mind that we've been doing it, we went to every other year to try and let that build up a little bit, but it isn't working out because the recycling part of it's gone bad on us with that. So that is, you're correct. We need to take a look at that and let people know well in advance what we intend to do with that. We agreed to do it every other year, and whether we'll be able to sustain that or not, we'll have to see. The other thing is the cost goes up on the pickups. It was in the $35,000 range just a few years ago, and now it's up into the $60,000 range. For the pickup.
Go ahead. Reset.
I had a question about the dates. And it's just a curiosity. Are they sending out more crews on the 8th, or does Ward 3 and 4 just have so much more rubbish that they need a single day?
I believe, Rob, that they're going to have a couple trucks out.
Okay, that's what I was kind of being facetious. I thought that was the case, but if people ask, it's good to know that we're not being short-sighted in wards 1 or 2.
Am I the dates? Where is that located on my?
It was in the email
It's a
today.
separate email.
Oh, okay. Because I'm looking and I couldn't find it. What were the dates? Do you know offhand? I mean, I'll go back and look at my email if you don't know them off the top of your head.
Wards 1 and 2, Amy, were May 8th. Ward 3 was May 15th. And Ward 4 was May 22nd.
Okay. In case anybody is watching our meeting, they can hear that information as well.
All right. So you're welcome. Are there any other questions or concerns regarding the spring cleanup at this time? Or is that everybody comfortable with moving that item forward?
I'm comfortable with moving it forward.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so we'll move that forward.
And we'll take that real quick, Matt, sorry, to the special meeting for next week, just so we can get that approved.
Wonderful.
Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is the Diamond Mill Street resurfacing. We received the bids, and Mr. Finney, I'll let you go ahead and cover that real quick.
Well, I'll keep it short and sweet. We opened bids, and Perrin Asphalt was again the low bidder. Their price was just under $280,000. And keep in mind, this is an 80-20 split through the AMATS money. So they were $32,000 lower than the next bidder.
So will that $32,000 allow us to maybe add much needed curbs?
Try 150,000.
Well, if yeah, the number that we came up with was about $150,000. ODOT will not pay for curbs on this project. This is just strictly for resurfacing.
So what would that make our cost? The city's portion of that? Do you have that, Mr. Finney? With the split?
20% of 20% of
40.
20% of 25 would be 50 grand, something like that. Just
a little
throwing a number out there quickly.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Okay. And again, this is a much needed project, so if there's no objections, Cheryl, Paul, we'll go ahead and move this forward as well.
I say,
Okay, very good, thank you.
Sure.
The last,
And just real quick for you guys, AMATS had asked us if we were interested in moving our two other paving projects for next year, move our other two paving projects from 2024 to pave them next year. And we obviously said, yes, absolutely. So that's South Chestnut Street from Main Street to Lake, and then Riddle Avenue from Liberty to Meridian. And we'll do both of those at the same time. That should be in our budget, our a new budget that's you guys have in front of you now.
and Mr.
And that
Burr,
again would be an 80-20 split.
I had a question earlier this year when this came out public about the depth of the asphalt. A resident asked that. So I would just like to know that, to relay that again.
I'm not understanding your question, Paul.
Okay.
The
Wants
depth
to
of
know-
the asphalt.
Yes, when it's overlaid, is it, how many inches deep will it be? Of the new,
A minimum of an inch and a half.
okay, thank you.
good, thank you. And the last item I have on the agenda this evening is actually just a discussion item. And I'd like to, I know there's some parking issues throughout the city. I'd like to try and keep this focused on this one item this evening so we don't get off task. But notice there's a lot of no parking signs in the city, and there's no ordinance or law backing those signs on many city streets. I've had residents over the years contact me. They've been warned or even ticketed for parking on the street when there's no ordinance on the books not allowing them to. So I just wanted to throw that out for discussion, see what everyone's thoughts were. We can do a couple things. We can be proactive. I have talked to Kay about this in the past. I've talked to Chief Wallace, and we can possibly take a step back and look at these areas where these signs are, and if they're needed, put an ordinance on the books prohibiting parking. If they're in areas where they're not needed, we need to take the signs down so the residents aren't receiving mixed messages on what they can and cannot do as far as parking. So I just want to put that out there and see what kind of feedback you guys have or your thoughts on that particular issue with these signs. And if you don't feel it's a problem, we can kind of just leave it as is. And if issues arise, we can deal with them individually.
Matt, do you have an example of a place where there's no parking signs without an ordinance prohibiting it there?
Just for example, pretty much all of Diamond Hills area
Okay.
is just one area, but they're
Okay.
they're all over the city. If
Okay.
you compare where the signs are to what's on the books and ordinances, I mean, they're on Madison, they're on King, they're all over the place, but there's no ordinance on the books prohibiting them from parking there, even though there's signs. So it's just causing some minor problems, nothing major, but I think it's something that needs to be looked at and addressed in some form.
And Matt, if I can add, after being with the city for quite a few years, in the past, I know a lot of signs were put up because it was like resident request driven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it'd certainly be worth it to explore it and see what we need, what we don't, and kind of clean that up then.
I agree, yeah.
Mhm.
You know, has anybody else received any calls from residents that have had issues like this, or is it just me?
Sounds like it's just you, but I
Just
still
me.
think it's worth exploring for sure.
We
I've
have
had
a
the opposite where they want signs up, so.
Mhm. It kind of comes in waves with the signs. And then, if you put one up, then you'll see the whole neighborhood show up at the meeting. So yeah, it's worth
So-
looking at.
So again, it's something we can discuss further, or it's something we can kind of table and just deal with as it presents itself. So,
Yeah, I think if there's no ordinance to back it up, we should obviously look at it.
and if residents are getting warnings and some citations, it upsets them, and they find out that there's no ordinance there backing the sign. So
That's
Well,
been an
frustrating.
issue. It's been an issue for many years in Diamond Hills. Specifically, I know about that one. And it definitely, I think, citywide needs to be looked at and addressed. And some areas do need them for safety purposes. I can tell you just in Diamond Hills, if you were to park on the street, on the hill of Sunnywood, coming around a curve, that wouldn't be very safe. Your car probably could get hit easily. So we need to look at, where the signs are posted and where they need to be.
Chief, I know you're on. Was there any comments or thoughts that you would like to add before I end this?
No. Matt and I talked earlier on the phone today, and one of the things that we talked about was just the overall parking, and lack of ordinances. But I did some digging. I did look at the parking authority in the ordinance. It says is the mayor. So at some point, like Kate said, I think if there were citizens that complain about certain areas that parking, and the problem becomes like on Madison in particular, where if you don't have a sign that says no parking on this side, people will park on both sides of the road, and then it would make it more difficult for vehicles to pass through. So I think, by us looking at, assessing what we already, the signs that are out, and assessing that if we still need those, and then making those an ordinance or where there's something for people that they can follow the rules a little bit easier, I think that would be a good thing. So yeah, there's a lot of, I know up in Diamond Hills, one of the reasons that was explained to me a long time ago was because of the mailboxes, and it's one of the few places in the city that has actual mailboxes up by the road. So to have the mailman goes through and delivers the mail in the mailboxes. So there are vehicles parked on the road that would block them from being able to do that. So.
The one nice thing though in Diamond Hills is all the mailboxes are on the same side of the street.
Right.
So you could do parking on one side, just not the mailbox side.
And the thing with Diamond Hill too is you could look at that and maybe make certain hours that you can't park. You know, because some of the residents have complained in the past that because there's no parking, it's 24 hours. They've got parking tickets in the middle of the night and they don't understand why they can't park there at 2 o'clock in the morning. So maybe we make certain streets that you can't park there at certain times, like during the day would be, you know, Diamond Hill where the mailman's trying to deliver mail, but at night, overnight, it wouldn't be. So.
We always got to consider our safety forces, being able to get fire engines and ambulances through as well. So we do have to make sure we take a look at that as well. So
I know some of the streets in town, like King, can be difficult to get down, especially when they're parking on both sides of the street. I couldn't imagine trying to get an emergency vehicle through there.
There's many streets like that that are narrow, and then when they're constricted by cars or trucks parking on them.
North Scranton is one of those streets. We have lots of complaints about people parking on the road or the tree lawn.
all right, well, I appreciate everybody's input on that, and if you have other thoughts or anything, you can always give me a call and we can discuss it as well. But it's something that I'll continue to look at and possibly bring back up in the near future, and maybe make some of these streets, actually put them on the books, such as roads with mailboxes and narrow roads and things of that. So and as that information gets compiled, I'll keep everybody up to date. We have a management update.
No, these problems with the signs, if you'll recall, it will take some time to check back in the ordinances to see whether they were approved or not approved. I know when you're talking about stop signs, we had one out at the end of Cedar and Linden that they said was not legally put in there. And we took the stop signs down on Linden. And lo and behold, the owner of the house complained a number where directly across from that, because his having to back out of his driveway then became more of a problem than when it was a stop. But this gentleman had been around long enough that he kept the date on when that was approved. We said there was none, but he gave me a time frame. And then when we looked up in the proper time frame, it was there. We had to go put the sign back up.
Thank you. All right, it is 6:22, and I will adjourn the Streets and Sidewalks Committee. Thank you, everyone.
Am I up? I think 6 o'clock. Okay, 6:22. I will call the Public Health and Safety Committee to order. I have a few items on the agenda tonight. First item on the agenda is with a grant from Chief Chappell, the Ohio EMS Training and Equipment Grant. It's asking us to allow him to apply for the grant. Brian, do you know if there is a match on the city's end?
No, I have not talked to Chief Chappell about this, so I'm not sure.
I haven't heard from him, which is very unusual. And so I assumed he would be on tonight, and he's not. So I can update everyone, if there is a match on the city's part. And if there is, we can talk about that at our finance before finance. But from what I'm looking at and just the little information I do have, it is just for training and equipment. So there's nothing else I have. Do we have a problem moving that forward?
No, not at all.
Okay.
The only thing I saw is that it needs to be submitted by April 1st, so we need to keep looking at it.
Okay. Next item, multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. Tim Content. Tim on?
No, he's not here.
There's Seaman.
Yeah, this is a project that we started on, it was before the pandemic, I think probably in late winter or the middle of winter, or the first part of the new year. And what it is, this is a 5-year update to bring things into compliance. We started with a meeting out at their center out on Infirmary Road. And,
I vaguely remember this.
Yeah, and there were 4. I think Mr. Finney was there. I was there.
Andrew, were you involved in this?
No, but they also had public meetings where the public could attend as well. So I'm glad that the city's doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. It probably would have been nice to have had Tim here on our Zoom call, maybe at our finance, to have him maybe just talk a little bit about what he's been working on and what he's been doing. I know he's, been working on a lot of different things, and I just think it would be nice for council to hear all of the things that he has been working on and where we are with a lot of this stuff.
Well, this has to be approved for us to participate.
Right.
So that needs to be done. They've finalized it. They started off and you identified your major problems. And quite honestly, I think the biggest problem we were having was problems with stormwater in terms of disaster. Now, a real disaster came after that called the pandemic. And it gives you a chance to look at things with a different perspective because what they put together applies to all sorts of possible problems from tornadoes, just the whole gamut of things that can go wrong. I'm sure down in Texas, if you'd have said you're going to lose your whole water system because you're going to get some cold weather, they wouldn't have thought that was possible. Well, those sorts of things are possible. So the purpose of this plan is so we can participate, and it keeps us in good standing with FEMA, I believe, also.
Okay, and there's no cost to us for this?
No.
It's just approving the plan, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
The county commissioners had a resolution to approve it on March 4th. And our packet has a resolution for us to approve. So I think it's just a matter of having that resolution before council for a vote.
Okay. Is there anything, Mayor, that you want to add to this? I would assume that you're, supporting this decision as well.
Will you talk to me?
Yeah, I said, so you're, you and the
yeah.
administration are supporting this, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we need to do this.
Okay, that's all I just wanted to make sure. Rob, Matt, do you have a problem in moving this forward?
Let's move it.
Could I just ask real quick, Mayor, whenever you do have that plan, could you share that with council?
Yeah, I think Tim would be a good person.
Yeah. I will talk to Tim Content tomorrow, and we'll get something together for it. Now, this could be a rather fat plan. You need to understand that. It won't be 3 or 4 pages.
Yeah, I just think it would be nice to, like I said, have Tim come in and talk a little bit about it with us, and maybe he could do that before finance to, give council an update on what it actually is and so forth.
You're talking about Tim, not Ryan.
Yes, well, I was talking about Tim because he
Yeah.
worked for the city and he's been
Yes.
working on this.
Yes, and he's been handling all of this stuff.
Right.
Yes.
So I just said it would be nice to have him.
Well,
you know,
I
talk-
think that's a good idea. I wasn't sure you'd be able to get Ryan here. I was thinking it was Ryan you were asking for.
No,
And
just
he's
our
a
guy,
lot-
Tim.
He's a lot harder to get to a meeting.
Yeah, nope, I'd be happy with Tim. All right. So we're okay. We're going to move this forward. Next item, one I'm excited to talk about, safety committee meeting update. Christina, hold on just a minute. My household here is getting a little loud. Hold on. Sorry about that. Anyways, so Christina and I had met last week and we had a really good discussion as far as, you know, having council support a survey, a safety survey for our residents to get feedback. We decided, you know, we really wanted to be more aggressive as you know, summer's coming, spring is coming, and you know, some of the things that we faced last year in our downtown, you know, we kind of want to stay ahead of it. We want to have communication with the residents, and we wanted to put a survey out on our water bill. We wanted council's input on this as well, and this is something we want to get on our website to, you know, start getting feedback so that the police, the fire, the safety forces, maybe the street department, our service director, and the administration can see what the residents feel or what they, you know, they think. The top 3 things on our website and our water bill is, you know, what we would like. There's like 3 to 5 questions to present to council that we wanted to present to you guys, and we wanted to see what your thoughts were, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you had thoughts. First one was, do you feel safe downtown? If not, what do you feel we can do to improve safety? Example, foot patrol, cameras, etc. And then it was yes or no. Second item was, do you feel safe in the city as a whole? Yes or no. If not, what do you feel we can do to improve safety? Foot patrol, cameras, etc. These are just ideas that we were talking about. The other one was, do you feel safe in our parks, hike and bike trail? Yes or no. If not, what do you feel we could do to improve our safety, or your safety? The other question was, what do you think is working in regards to our community safety? So it was, you know, a positive. What do you think that we're doing that's working? The last question was, what recommendation do you have to improve safety in our community? That was the last question that, you know, we kind of brainstormed. And then the second thing was, we wanted to do a subcommittee for our downtown outreach, safety discussion, and cleanliness issues. So, you know, we wanted to get together, Christina and I, representing council, next, as early as, you know, maybe end of March, 1st of April, where we would meet with maybe 3 other people from the community, and somebody from the administration, which would be somebody that, you know, possibly lives downtown, someone from the chamber or Main Street, someone from even, you know, the street department like Chuck or Kay, but periodically have, you know, the subcommittee to go along with this to, you know, once again, you know, see what's going on in our city, what's going on in our downtown. You know, what are the business owners seeing? I know, you know, towards summertime, it was getting a little frustrating because, you know, our downtown, the appearance was dirty. And, you know, with some of the situations that were going on, our trash cans were becoming overflown with trash, and we only had trash come once a week, you know, to pick that up. But, you know, by Wednesday, our trash cans were completely overflowing. You know, if we can kind of stay ahead of some of this stuff or figure out a plan, even such as, the cigarette butts, I mean, like I had said last year, I went up one day myself and just started sweeping because I could not believe the mess around the party bus stops where there was hundreds of cigarettes. So, these are things that I think are important. We're working hard on trying to bring businesses in our downtown. We want people to feel safe. We want, if there is a certain time where there are, issues happening that business owners are knowing or are seeing, these are things such as even with our, our downtown outreach person. And I know there's going to be, a meeting that will be happening with that, but how can we change this? How can we be more proactive, even also with the jailhouse, with the jail and the courthouse, crime, the homelessness, all the things going, on in our downtown. And I think if we keep that open line of communication, Christina and I thought that there would be ways that we can be more proactive as council and working with the administration so that they're aware of this. Other issues, the traffic calming, ATVs, sidewalks, maintenance, snow removal, tree limbs, etc. So these are all things that we felt important to, talk about in a subcommittee to go along, possibly with our survey. So that's kind of everything out there. I'm looking to hear feedback from council and the administration. And also, I can have Chelsea, I'm not sure if she emailed what Christina typed up, but the questions, if you want to, actually look at them and toss around some ideas. But I really would like to get this out no later than the first part of April, the questions, whatever we come up with a survey. I don't want this to linger. I want us to move forward as soon as possible to get feedback with, nice weather coming and for us to get some type of a plan.
Amy, I think it would be good too to somehow reach out to high school students and get some feedback from them. I think it's really important to, especially on those issues, if we want them to frequent our downtown and, take more pride in the community, I think we need to try to include their voices and let them be heard.
Yeah, I'm all for that. Absolutely.
And Amy, can I just add something really quick? I know that since I've been on council, I know a lot of issues such as the ATVs and that have been brought up. And a lot of times it's because a resident reaches out. So there might be one resident that's having that issue or concern. So a survey, however we come up with it, so any suggestions you guys have is going to help us to see overall as a city, maybe ATVs really aren't that big of an issue. Maybe it was just an issue with one or two houses, or maybe, the traffic is really not something we need to be focusing on. So it kind of helps us focus in as we move forward, so we can be a little more proactive. But we're not working on things that aren't as I don't want to say as important, but as a priority.
Yeah, I would. When you mentioned those questions, that was one thing that jumped out to me, is just asking residents, what's most important to you in regards to safety, and just kind of leave it open ended. And I think you'll.
Can I backtrack and try to figure out what's led to this? Because I see in the documentation we've been given what appears to be a safety committee meeting on March 11th. But then, Amy, you're talking about establishing a subcommittee. So
yes, that was something
on the 11th. Who's the safety
Not me.
committee?
That was Chief Wallace. That was him, I believe. Am I right? That was something that he's working on, trying to, get a handle with our downtown outreach coordinator and come up with some ideas. And Andrew sent that out to all the council so that we could be a part of it or aware of it. Well,
No,
Christine,
I don't think we're talking about the same thing.
No, Rob, those are just notes that I typed up when Amy and I sat down and had a conversation.
oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's all that
All right.
is. That
So
was
you
just
don't
kind of,
my point is you don't really have a subcommittee established yet.
No.
Okay. All right.
those are just draft notes to kind of keep track of what we discussed
here's
so we
my-
can share with council.
Here's my constructive criticism of it, because I think it's a great idea. I really do. Number one, I would put the survey in the water bill. That reaches residents of the city. I would not put it on the website. anybody in the world could answer the questions on the website. And I don't think unless we get some real sophisticated help from our IT people, that we'd be able to filter out multiple responses. And you might just end up with people who have a grudge about something, just, flooding the survey. I'm not saying it'll happen, but it opens up the door. So the water bill is a great mechanism, but I'm not sure the website without a lot of sophisticated programming is going to work. I like the questions, although for the first two, they're a bit compound in the sense that they're really asking two questions. And yet they're redundant because at the end you do ask, what can we do to improve it? So I would just leave them, do you feel safe downtown? Yes or no. Do you feel safe in the city as a whole? Yes or no. And then later on, they can answer what improvements they can add.
Right. Yeah, these were just brainstorming questions.
No,
and
I
I'm
know
grateful.
they're great. They're a great start. They really are. I would also pull out, only because from my experience, the parks, and we did a survey through Parks and Rec, which identified some concerns, some safety concerns in the parks. But I don't know that I'd want to bundle them with the bike trail because it's one question. And I think those are two distinct things. And I don't know that there's been concern that I've heard of with the hike and bike trail. So if you want both, I would separate them out, because if someone says yes, what are they answering for? Maybe they're only concerned in the parks, but they feel safe on the bike trail.
You could also do it in phases too, as Amy and Christina are having these conversations, tackle the downtown first and then parks second, if this is an ongoing thing, just a thought.
Yeah, the thing, like at City Park, I know there are, younger families that, don't want to take their kids there because of some of the behavior that happens there and some of the stuff that goes on that, I've had families in summers past, contact me or, contact the park department about some of the stuff that they've seen. So, that's why I kind of, touched on, with summer coming, with, nice weather coming, even at Chestnut Hills Park, we go through times up there where we get a lot of vandalism. We get older kids using profanity. So I kind of,
drug dealing too. I mean,
Yeah,
it runs the gamut, and we hear about them more in the parks. That's why I think it would be helpful.
Yeah. So, and I've also heard that there's been, some different activity that people have seen on the bike trail. So, with Main Street, Main Street is in, has been working hard to get people on our bike trail to come to our downtown. So that's kind of why, this is something I believe was on their plan to, I know that there have been signs pointing people to our businesses in the downtown from the bike and hike trail. So, I don't know. That was just when we were brainstorming why I included that.
No,
So
I think you got everything in there. I just think it needs a little bit of massaging to make those questions flow a little better. But I'm all for this. I think it's a great idea. And we need, one of the things I think as a council, we need to do more of is get input from the community. And just expecting them to show up at meetings or whatever, or give us calls when things are bad is probably not the only way to go. I think proactively having surveys and soliciting input is always a good idea.
Right.
Well, I
And
think it's a good idea too to know what's working, right? Because if it's something is working, then we can put that in other parts of our city. I mean, that's something that we need to be proud of.
Right. The good job that, our safety forces is doing, or, our street department, they do a great job, with their leaf pickup and, making sure residents, just there's so many different avenues where, our employees are doing a really good job. But, there's some areas that, we might not know something, or maybe we can change the way we're doing something or do it better, or look at other alternatives like our downtown, as far as the cleanliness of our downtown. It just got really bad last year. And I know I probably drove Kay and Mr. Seaman crazy like I usually do, but it just went through this period where we were a dumping grounds, and that's all you see in our city. And residents were complaining, businesses were complaining, and I would like to see you know, a plan B if this starts getting bad again, you know, and trash pickup doesn't come on till Friday, but Wednesday some of those trash cans are overflowing. Who's going to clean that? You know, is there, you
Johnny.
know,
Johnny
who's going to,
cleans.
huh?
Johnny cleans.
Right. But if Johnny's not around, who's going to clean them?
Johnny's always around.
Anyways, so yeah, that's I would appreciate I think, and Christina, you can speak up to you know, whatever, you know, if there's specific questions, and you know, if you want us to email you guys to approve them first, but like I said, I'd like to get this done in the next week and a half at the latest, to get something together.
Did anybody talk to Mike Reynolds about the possibility of doing that? Because there may be other things on the water bill.
I have not yet. No, I was going to actually talk to Kay about it. I wanted to bring, you know, we wanted to bring it to council first to see what they thought. You know, maybe they didn't want us to go to the water bill. You know, that's why our plan B was also to do, you know, use our city website. You know, we've spent a lot of money on the city website, and, you know, there are some people that, you know, would probably be more likely to do it by just going on a website and taking a survey.
And the
I
other
don't
piece
know.
with the city website.
That's kind of the problem, though.
And Rob, I hear what you're saying on that, but the struggle that I
Right.
have with this too is it's not just people that pay a water bill that are in our city.
Right.
So our businesses, people that work here that might not work in the
Right.
city, might have feedback too. So that's kind of why I was going. I hear you though. That's why I
mean,
was
look,
thinking maybe the website. Yeah.
I guess my point is for a survey where you're including a certain amount of validity to the responses, you got to figure out what your population is. And if you want it from your residents, then but you're right. I mean, people who work in the city pay taxes and expect a certain thing too. The problem is, how are you going to identify workers? You know, that's a pretty big problem.
Do we add a question that says, do you work or live? And if, you know, the address.
But I mean, if it's going to the water bill, we know they live in the city. Well,
Not always, not
But
always.
you're missing a
true.
whole group of people. If you're only doing the water bill, you're missing out on everyone who works here. Or what about the fact that we want people to come in from other communities to frequent our businesses and, you know, utilize our parks and things like that? And, you know, yeah, but even in the water bills, we could still get some
landlords that they're getting
Right.
it now. A lot of the landlords don't live in Ravenna. They live in Salem, Solon, all
Right.
over the place. So
I mean,
again,
I feel like we just have to weed through what we receive, and whatever's there, don't dismiss it. We have to take it to heart and evaluate it.
The only other concern I have about the water bill is we do have the need to inform people of the cleanup. And we've always used the water bill.
Right.
And while I, like I said, I fully support this idea, I don't know that this is a pressing idea. I mean, we've had safety concerns, or should always be concerned about safety in the city or downtown. So I don't know that that's something we have to rush into if we're going to use the water bill as the mechanism. So it may have to wait until after other things that might already be in the pipeline to go out with the water bill in March. You know, I'm just saying, might have to wait a little bit.
well, I agree though. The cleanup is a main priority, and that needs to be, you know, out as many places as we can put it, you know, so that people are aware of it. But again, you know, with nice weather coming, you know, I'd like to have an idea of, you know, different plans, different, you know, things that we might not be knowing to be addressed before they get, you know, a little out of control again.
Well, but a survey is not gonna, the survey just gives us information. It doesn't.
Right. But it leads us to starting something.
Well, yeah, I get all that. Well, look, I think this is a great thing to do. I think it's, you know, I think we need to pursue this. I do have, you heard my
I
concern,
appreciate it.
criticism, you know, about websites and stuff like that. But if you really want valid information, I think you do need to, and that's why surveys cost so much. Right? We did the Parks and Recs thing, it cost a lot of money.
Yep.
Because we had a sophisticated team of people who knew how to do those things, and that's what costs money. Throwing up a website survey is easy, but that's why it's easy, because it doesn't have that incorporated validity in it, and you may not get the results that are really truly what you need to act on.
Anybody else like to comment on this?
Well, I know the water bill is a guarantee, and I'm just saying that because of the past problems periodically with the website. I mean, the website's a great idea if it was running smooth consistently. And even though the water bill gets out to people outside the city, such as a lot of landlords and people of that nature, but at least they're coming in to the city limits, which is really good. And one problem that I have noticed recently, outside of what's been mentioned, is unfortunately homeless sleeping on the benches on the sidewalk. It's still happening. I noticed that this morning, and I was hoping there'd be some type of a solution yet, but I know there's nothing concrete. That's all I have to comment right now.
Well, let me know what you need from me, Amy. I think any way that we can communicate with residents on, safety, I'm all for. So.
Me too, Amy. Anything that you need input, I definitely am out for it. I've often felt that I would like to see more foot patrol, especially in the downtown area. I think that would, especially if they do it at various times and it's frequently, people don't know when or what time they're going to be down there, but they know that they're going to be down there at any point in time. I think it could help a lot of harassing the customers of the businesses as they're trying to come in and out, asking for money and different things like that.
Well, like I said, it's a start. And it's something that, it's been like teeter-tottering back and forth. Kind of been, we've been more reactive, I think, on council, like, when we're hearing about or we're seeing about problems. And, I know, Chief Wallace is, trying to be proactive and trying to right now, kind of reach out and look. He has some really good ideas on some positive things to try to go after with some of the things that we're doing right now that it might not be working. And he has some ideas that he's, I support once, they have their meeting. But again, Christina and I are going to get together, hopefully maybe next week again. And if you guys could, email me, us some questions, or thank you, Rob, for your feedback. And, as long as, I don't want to go against anyone in council as far as, if you strongly don't feel that this is something that you don't want, us to pursue. But I just think it's important to listen and to get some information from the residents. So that's all I'll say.
No, it's great to get their input.
So even not just our residents, people that work in our downtown as well. So, okay. Any management update or anything, any comments from the management?
Well, if you want to be here till midnight, but no, I don't have it.
All right. All right. I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting. I don't have the time in front of me right now, so I apologize. It's what? A 6:52 from my choir next door here.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. At 6:50, I believe, the only topic that I have would be the GE standpipe. And on the agenda, Mrs. Dubinsky has some details pertaining to that, which probably over and above what was printed.
Actually, Tim Stevens is on tonight and he's going to fill everyone in up to this point, what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
I think Tim's muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we have a violation from the Ohio EPA for GE standpipe. It's too much water, basically for our system. It was built really, the city thought, I assume at that point when they built it in 1985 that we were going to grow. And with 3 million gallons, and I mean, I think our average, even when I started over almost 10 years ago, was only like 2.2. So it's a standpipe. No one builds a standpipe today. It's just a water quality nightmare. So the reason why I don't use it, and the reason is basically because we would have a healthcare violation, another water quality violation if I used it, disinfectant byproduct. So it's so the idea is to well, the plan is, I hope, is to build a new tank at the top of the water plant there at Lakewood and Summit. It's basically the same hydraulic grade as City Park. So I had thought maybe putting a bump out down by the wastewater plant in the big field there, but it's too low. But at the top of the water plant is actually a little better. Turn the tank over, fresher water. So and you know, with just having City Park in service with 500,000 gallons, it's always a risk. I mean, we almost lost the system last summer because of a leak that was running down by railroad tracks down by Diamond, behind Mountainese Harbor, past there. So we were very close. The plant was at full capacity and it was getting near dark. And actually, Kay and one of my operators actually found the leak down by the railroad tracks. So it's a big risk just running one tank, and G's just too big for us. So anyone have any kind of questions or?
Tim, I wanted to get an understanding. When you talk about this stand pipe, and could you explain that? It's not a water tank, is it? But it seems to have some water holding capacity.
So GE's just has the name of the standpipe. If you go anywhere, any water system, they are just this big round tank, like GE if you see it on 14. That's
Okay, it is a tank. So they're talking.
It's called a standpipe, yeah. So the one we would build is
Gotcha.
an elevated tank like City Park.
Okay.
So you have basically, it's all on hydraulic grade. The problem with GE is you have over 2 million gallons that just sits there inactive because it's below the grade of, so you have 2 million gallons and City Park would be empty. If you can picture that at the same hydraulic grade. So building a new elevated tank, they're both going to be at the same hydraulic grade and they're going to float at the same level. So elevator tanks, like I said, no one builds a standpipe today just because they're back in 1985. You didn't have the same regulations that we have today, as in for disinfection byproducts. So back in 1985, it wasn't a big deal. But in the 90s came along, they got a little tighter on disinfection byproducts, and early 2000s, it got even tighter. So
as I understand it, the standpipe is just it's over capacity.
It's over capacity, yeah.
And so there was a violation, and then the remedies were to somehow lower the capacity, which I don't understand, and keep it, or build another tank. And it just sounds like everybody consulted this. What is it, Fontas Blue?
Yeah, we're on a contract with them.
The suggestion is we build one closer to the water treatment plant, and that seems like the logical thing. I think the question from my perspective is which option, you know, there was a couple of options, 3 options for 500,000 gallon tanks. And then why would we consider 750? I mean, the cost keeps going up, but do we need even that capacity?
So it's just a recommendation, but it's EPA and kind of fire flow and stuff like that. They'd like you to have a day's worth of storage in your system. So we average about 1.5, but even down on the weekends, we're down to about 1.2. But cost-wise, we were thinking the plant's got a generator and we're 24/7. So we feel that 500,000 is the way to go. As you see in that thing on the cost estimates, so you can get a $500,000 tank. You can spend a little more on a $500,000 tank. I just think this tank's going to be very similar in looks to City Park. Your disadvantage with this type of tank is that down the road there's more painting costs and resurfacing costs, but so it's like anything else. So if you do you spend it now or spend it later? But I think that tank's this proposed tank would be a good fit for us.
All disappeared.
Can I just ask a quick question that's sort of, but not totally relevant? What's the outlook on the current water tank at City Park? If this one were to go in, are we looking at, number of years before that needs any major work done to it or replacement even? Or is that, just upkept so it should be good for the foreseeable future?
It just needs upkept. Last year, if you guys remember, I proposed we did some interior work. We did some underwater, actually do an underwater epoxy. We did some touch up, installed a mixer. The inside is actually in pretty good shape. So the tank, only thing it's going to need maybe is a recoat inside and out or something at some point. But physically, structurally, it's in great shape. So it's not going to need to be replaced someday, anytime. Just long we keep up on it and take good care of it, which is it's in great shape.
And then you have this on for discussion only, but is there a timeline that you're looking?
Yeah, I actually sent Fontes Blue got back to me just probably about 4 o'clock today. I sent Katie what I had to respond to the EPA tomorrow. I'm at the end of responding to him, and I just wanted to let council know this is the direction that I'm responding to the EPA in regarding going for a new tank.
Tim, I have one simple question for you. Do you believe that the 500,000, a new tank at that capacity, is plenty, considering hopefully quite a bit of future growth?
Yeah, I think so. And bear in mind, a water tank, the plant has a capacity, but the water tank is to get you by in an emergency. You got that fire out there, you got that main break out there. The plant has a little hiccup, so the extra capacity helps you, survive a bad problem. The plant has plenty of capacity to any kind of possible future growth. If we were to be great, if we another 500,000 at some point, or another 1 million, I don't know, a brewery moves in town or something. But the capacity is there, and an extra 500,000 is going to make myself feel better, or my future person that takes my place someday. But I think we'll be in pretty good shape.
Okay, thank you very much.
So I guess last thing I add is, so the timeline, we were looking to hopefully secure engineering this year, and then get kind of design and stuff, and then with the idea of starting to construct maybe sometime early spring or something next year.
So is this not something we have to send out for bidding?
Oh yeah, I mean the engineering, I guess maybe, but definitely the construction, yeah.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
I believe it's extremely important.
Will, just out of curiosity, will the GE water tower there, will that be torn down, or is that just going to be left and just taken offline?
So the EPA will demand, we'll have to take it out of the system. Basically, that will be like capping it at the road or something. And I don't know if it's not falling apart right now, and obviously it won't be for a long time, but I'm guessing we probably get somebody to take it down for free just for the scrap at some point.
You can trade it in, huh?
Trade it in, yeah.
Oh,
But
what's the life expectancy of these new tanks?
So I mean, take City Park was built, and pretty sure it's like 58. I'm pretty sure that that's a sign that's on it. I want to see 58. So you're looking at 58, and it's probably got, geez, we take care of it. It's got another 25, 50 years in it. They just, as long as you keep the paint up and it's not rusting, they last a long time. So.
If there are no other comments, I'll ask for a management update.
I just a few comments with the tank. This is, of course, an important part to maintaining our water supply. One of the other problems that we've had is that it affects both the wastewater treatment plant and this one we had some discussion with earlier in the day with Mr. Finney. And quite honestly, people have upgraded their homes and everybody's got water saving everything. And consequently, we're not using as much water as we used to. And that has caused some complications. If you'll recall, we passed an ordinance demanding that people, when they sold their house, that there be an internal inspection to see that that no stormwater was going into that sewer. Well, guess what? We've hit the point if the stormwater doesn't go into that sewer, it doesn't wash the stuff along. So we might want to revisit that ordinance and take it off the books, because I don't think one house has been inspected, to my knowledge, with that. And many of the homes, the older homes in Ravenna, were built with the idea that that water was going to come into the house, and there are trenches around the area that carries it to the drain. So I think that the size of this tank will be adequate. It would be a good problem if we had a demand that was so high that it would take some serious growth. And we are working on that. Dennis West, quite honestly, works hard every day on talking to people and convincing them Ravenna's the place to come with their businesses. And some of them are going to start coming. I'm pretty sure about that. With that. So I'll stop with that at this time.
And on the agenda too is Hillcrest. So I don't want to skip over it if some formal action will need on that.
Yeah, this is to authorize the mayor to advertise for bids for the Hillcrest Spruce and Zeta water line.
And that will include the replacement of all hydrants along those services in those areas.
Correct. That's it.
Any other questions for Mr. Finney on that? Paul, you there? Okay.
Cool. If there's nothing else pertaining to these topics, this will end at, looks like 7:04.
You're muted, Rob.
Sorry. I have 7:07, so somehow 4 minutes just flew by. But I'll call the planning committee meeting to order. We have 6 items on the agenda. We may be here till midnight, Mr. Mayor. The first one, we'll try to rush through these as quickly but as thoroughly as possible, is a grant for Parks and Recs called People for Bikes. As I understand the grant, it's a 50-50 grant. It's to help provide a station for parking your bike, for fixing your bike at Chestnut Hills. I think this feeds right into the discussion about safety and so forth. I think the more opportunities we provide for people to do these fun activities, the more people feel comfortable in our parks and, riding down our hike and bike trail, which Chestnut Hills kind of intersects both those things. So anyway, the total budget is, I believe, $7,300. This grant, should we get it, would fund half of that project at $3,650, and then I guess we got to come up with the rest. So this is just a grant opportunity, and the Parks and Recs have been doing a pretty damn good job getting some money through grants. So let's hope they can do it here as well. Any questions about it?
If anybody wants to see what this might look like too, I'm sure Mr. Calfee could echo it. But if you go down to the Lake Avenue, I believe, bridge in Kent, they've got one of these stations down there to, pump up your bike tire. And then I believe downtown Kent even has one of these water bottle fill stations, which I think is a great idea. So I'm excited for this grant.
Yeah, great job, Judy. So, the department has done an amazing job in all the grants and looking for new ideas. So yeah, I'm happy to support this.
Excited for this as well. I'm not as safe on my bike as I need to be. So to know that that's available as I'm riding through town will be fantastic.
Okay, Tim, you on board for
Yes.
moving this forward? All right.
Yes.
Thank you. The next thing is the Community Action Council Agreement. This is the yearly, what do we call it? Food for Kids program, summer food service program that we provide. I don't know, did we even provide it last year? I know we didn't. We approved it.
We didn't have the camp. That was the time, that was the time of year nobody was out.
Yeah, it was at the schools. It was actually my son usually works it, and last year they had their program set up at all the different schools. So this year, if the summer camp is coming back, that's where it would be, where people can go and pick up food, and it also provides food for our summer campers at free of cost.
Yeah. It says that it serves all needy children 18 years and under, or if you're over 18 and have a mental or physical disability. So is this something we've been doing for several years? Okay to move this one forward?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we will do that then. Next is the annual codified ordinance update approval. Again, this is sort of like just some basic housekeeping things. Your packets, if you get them printed out, we'll have the updates, and I believe Chelsea has those for you to update yours. Or if you're like me, I just go out on the internet and see the updates in real time. So we just need to push that forward to approve those updates. Any questions? We'll move that forward too?
Yes.
Okay. Meridian Street parking discussion. So it looks to me like we've been provided a few options for parking in that parking lot that I guess is kind of across from the movie theater. And did I miss, wait, did I miss anything?
Yes.
Modify chapter.
I missed, I'm sorry. I was scrolling forward. All right, let me back up. I'm sorry about that, Bob. So we have changes to chapter 1472 and 1476 of our codified ordinances in regard to inspections. Bob, you want to explain it? Do you want me to explain it?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay.
This topic really needs to be discussed in person, but we don't have that option. And I know it's going to draw a lot of questions. So please don't ask until I'm done. Let's just keep it simple so we don't talk over each other. I wish we weren't having this conversation, but we are going to have to. We were challenged on a rental. We were challenged last year, and we were on our way to court. We got challenged. There's a case in Bedford that Bedford lost quite a bit through the lawsuit. The person challenged the rental code and claimed Fourth Amendment constitutional right had been violated. Long story short, the plaintiff won. Bedford's given a bunch of money back. So when we heard this, we studied the case along with a couple other cases and realized we don't want to be in that same situation. So Mr. Smino and I have worked through two of our ordinances, 1472, which is primarily property maintenance. But we did state that if they didn't allow us to inspect the property, that we could file a misdemeanor charge. So we've modified that, which is very similar to the way we modified 1476, which is our rental code. And, you know, it not only does it go into, it poses issues from an administration standpoint for my department to monitor and inspect the rental units, which obviously we do and we have been doing for some time. We often run across landlords who don't want us to inspect. However, the way the ordinance is written, we are able to seek an administrative warrant through the court system, which will allow us to get in the door. But as you could imagine, if at that point the owner still doesn't want us in, we have to have things in place to penalize them. And with this ordinance, we've written a couple other additional items. Another item that comes into play, how do we get compensated? How does the city get compensated for this charade of going to court, seeking an administrative warrant, and then actually inspecting, you know, and carrying out the process? So I've added some language in the ordinance with the intent to get compensated. Unfortunately, if a landlord, a building owner decides they don't want us to enter the property, they have the right to say just that. So we still need to keep track of these as rental properties. And at some point, if we get a complaint and the ordinance explains the different forms of complaint that we could receive, then we could seek an administrative warrant to enter the property. And if a violation is found, then we want to be compensated for my time, my administration's time, police department, law director, you know, so the bill could get pretty hefty if we find a violation. The sticking point that's going to be difficult is the person who poses a violation or complains about a violation. They're probably going to have to show up in court as part of the administrative warrant. A lot of people aren't going to want to do that. So, you know, we don't have a choice, unfortunately. I'm not sure. I know a couple of you have seen these. I'll forward them on to you guys to read. As I've done in the past, I've added certain things. We have some minor typographic errors and consistencies that I'm fixing. There's a line through it with the boldface font showing the new words, and then the meat of it is in red, is which we're inserting, which another community did to correct their ordinance. So, you know, that's where we're at with this. We need to move forward. I expect that it'll probably go to a public hearing at some point. I'm not sure how we're going to do that through a Zoom meeting, but you know, we'll certainly give it a try.
Yeah.
Questions?
Okay. And just for clarification, was it a year ago or so when we actually took out the fees? When this first
Well,
came?
we didn't take out the fees. We're still charging. We're continuing with the rental program as we always have.
Well, I meant
We
the
stopped.
fines, not the fees, but fining people if they didn't comply. I know we
We
made
really
some action,
haven't
something.
fined people. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And the way our ordinance is written, anyone in violation that's not adhering to the rental code can be charged with a misdemeanor. And in my 11 years, we've never charged somebody with a misdemeanor, but it's in the code in case we need to.
Okay.
But we haven't been, in the last year, we haven't taken people to court. We've dropped the court cases or not filed until we get this ordinance in place. But
Does everybody
fortunately, we still are doing rental inspections. I'm sorry?
No, I was just, go ahead.
What's that,
I
Rob?
thought you were finished.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
well, I took a breath.
I know.
No. Fortunately, many of the landlords are still registering the rental properties. They are still paying the registration, the rental inspection fees, and we are still inspecting units. But once this hits the newspaper, I would imagine the landlords are going to decide they don't want to do this anymore. That's why, the administration, we can, with the new ordinance, we can ask the judge to force reimbursement on our costs for this administrative warrant, which could easily run into $1,000 or more. So it's still, my opinion, behoove the owner of the property to just continue with the rental registration. At some point, I'll write an article and we'll get it into the newspaper explaining this process, and hopefully folks will see it our way. I cannot imagine the city of Ravenna without a rental registration or rental inspection on the books. I can't imagine the stuff that we see and the properties that we go into. Oh, you guys are welcome to join us sometime. And it's amazing how some people live. It truly is. And it's amazing the lack of maintenance from landlords. And, years ago, there was an issue up in Cleveland, and the judge actually made the owner live in her own property for a year. And I guarantee the owners of some of these properties would not live in these properties, their own properties. So, all right.
So, before I open it for question, I wonder if, Bob, there's another way to go about this, and I don't know that it's going to make that much of a difference, but if the city had a registry of those who regularly are inspected, then at least prospective renters could see what they're getting into. Is that something we should consider?
Well, I have done that in the past. So we have a running Excel spreadsheet in our office that Cindy from our office updates on a regular basis. I have put a PDF on our website years ago. The problem is it's a moving target. It's changing weekly. So that makes it a little more difficult. Primarily the same properties are on that list, and it is something we could update on a monthly basis. That is something that could be done.
Okay.
We didn't get anywhere with it in the past, but
but now things have changed.
Go ahead.
I
Sure.
just asked if anybody had any questions about this.
I'm curious about when we do an inspection. Do we do it routinely with all the rental properties of the people that are registered, or is this inspection when there's been a complaint from a renter, or visually we've seen something that we feel that we need to go in and look at? What differentiates there?
Property maintenance, exterior property maintenance is done daily, weekly, monthly. Sometimes it's driven by a complaint. Other times my two guys will just drive through the city looking for stuff, and they record it and issue violations. The rental property, we inspect every 2 years.
Okay.
So that's a biennial inspection. We do send out notices that they're due for reinspection. And again, most of the owners do apply, they schedule inspections. Obviously during COVID, we backed off, and we understand we didn't want to go in the structures either. If somebody had claimed somebody was sick, we just stayed away and we scheduled it out a few months. We've always worked with the occupants, owners, whatever it is. But the ordinance is written that we inspect every unit every 2 years.
And then if someone opts out, then the only way that we would be alerted to an internal problem is if it was from a renter in the unit.
Or a neighbor. It could be a neighbor. It could be a grandmother that was in the unit and thinks it's despicable.
Okay.
Are there
I
other
do-
questions?
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Tim. I seem to be interrupting everybody. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I do believe that it could potentially be a problem with opt-outs. And I'm glad that there's some mechanisms in it to recoup those administrative costs when we do get something to inspect the property. It'll be interesting to see landlords communicate with each other a lot. And I wonder if we begin to get a few opt-outs, if we might get a bunch, but time will tell.
True. Yeah. Anybody else have a question about this? Well, I think we need to push it forward. Bobby, are those changes you sent, are they pretty much ready to go? Semino's looked at them and everything, so.
Yeah, he's going to do a final.
Okay.
Him and I have a couple things to discuss, but I want to keep moving it forward, knowing it's going to take a couple months to pass.
Right, and just like the fences, we have to have a public hearing, so we're gonna have to figure that out, Andrew.
We've
No.
done it in the past, so it's no issue. And again, to clarify, if we ever need an executive session too, we've done that in the past as well. So it's always an option.
Okay. All right, well, we're gonna move this along. Any objections, Tim or Amy?
No, no objection.
All right, then let's move on to now the Meridian Street parking options that were presented to us. And again, this is the parking lot, I believe, which is across from the movie theater. And looks like we have a few different options, different number of spaces, cost options, cost per space. Bob, I assume this comes from you?
Yeah, we worked on this a couple years ago and was going to present it last year, then COVID, so I backed off. With our two paving projects coming in well under budget, this may be a good time to look to improve this parking lot. The price that you see, the three costs associated with the different options do not include parking lot lighting. So obviously we need to light this parking lot, and we want to modernize the lighting also. So it'd be fair to say $25,000 more for lighting, something like that. It's would also be our intent to have more green space, be it trees, green islands, on the corners and that sort of thing to soften the asphalt approach. So tonight is just a discussion to see if you guys are interested in moving this forward, maybe for a fall project, possibly for early next year.
Yeah, for me, it's an easy yes.
Yeah, me too. My only concern is, this is in conjunction with what Main Street did with its landscaping consultant. Is there are we out of sync with that? Or, I'd like the idea of the green space, and I think this may be an opportunity to look at that plan and see if we can incorporate some of the ideas they had for it.
What we don't want to do is lose a lot of parking spaces. A couple of spaces here or there, I don't see as an issue, but we don't want to lose 20 or 30. I briefly glanced at what Jason Kettner had done, and we can model ours after, his picture. That's fine. We're both looking to achieve the same goal in the end. We had a little bit of a different rotation of traffic.
One thing to keep in mind.
What's that, Cheryl?
I said, one thing to keep in mind is the landscape plan has not come before council for final approval and acceptance. A lot of great ideas in there, and I agree we can incorporate some green space. I like the idea of, maybe mimicking a little bit of what the theater parking had done. It's very aesthetic, very pretty. But I want to be real careful that we're not inferring that something is accepted and approved by city council that we haven't seen the final plan yet.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know what the role of the city council is, whether approval is required or not. And that's just the design. I mean, it's not, nothing's been funded to actually do it. And it goes beyond parking. I mean, there's a lot more in that plan. My only concern is that since work was done, we solicited, well, we didn't, but the consultant solicited information from residents and people, and we don't want to just not acknowledge it's there. And I think Bob is already incorporating similar ideas, so
Right.
I don't think we're in conflict with it. And yeah, I don't know, it's not going to drive what we do. It might help inform what we do, but you know, the city council can act on its own when it sees an opportunity like this. So.
Exactly.
You know, can I ask Bob or Kay, even if we don't have the answers now, I know this is a little ways off, but do we know how many people are currently using that lot? And if, so that would affect how many parking spaces you're looking at total. It doesn't seem like we would need 107, but maybe I'm wrong.
Andrew, can just before you, sorry, Bob, before you or Kate answered that.
That was the second half, if I'm anticipating.
As far
But
as
go
on,
ahead.
on the economic development side, CED, Dennis West and I have discussed, as well as talking with the new owners of Riddle Block. Riddle Block 9 did lease up until the police department didn't have the staff to lease those spaces, and I believe Kay is going to take it back over, or work, the service department's going to work with handling it, but those spaces can be leased to different businesses within that area, because you have residents that live up there, especially Riddle Block 9 is a perfect example. You have 20 apartments on the upper floors that have no parking. So they lease spots for their residents to be able to utilize that. Guido's also was one that in the past had leased spots in that lot. And then you just have people, the non-leased, that are coming to support the local businesses. They need a place to park. If Main Street's filled up, that's a great place to park.
I agree, Cheryl. I avoid that currently. But I think if we were able to pave that and update it, I think more people would actually utilize that area.
Yeah.
So having those additional spots, especially for future when we're doing the balloon fair things and other things downtown, to be able to have the ability to use that, I think that'd be great.
I believe having that resurfaced, whenever it's, as soon as it's feasible, and the lighting would be a main concern. And that would be a priority first before anything else. Anything else can fall into place later, but these other things would be quite a necessity, as for other reasons that have just been mentioned.
Okay, well, this was just for discussion. We're not planning on any immediate action. I don't know if you were asking for any input on the 3 different options at this point, Bob, or just kind of putting them out there for people to know that there's.
Yeah, my intent is to just start discussing this. We're going to fine tune the design a little bit and present it to council with a couple different options and try to get the price a little more ironed out. And I agreed with what Cheryl had said. We are looking to, it'll look similar to what the movie theater has done. And maybe even reach out to them for the same lighting that they're utilizing, knowing that it works, that sort of thing. And I had spoke to Kay earlier. We're going to try to figure out this parking situation, who's renting spaces, who's using spaces, if there's any agreements that her and I are not aware of, somebody else might be aware of. The mini mall, for instance, we know they park there. And, you know, just, so we have some homework to do. But if city council said, nope, we're not interested, then obviously I'm not going to spend our resources, which is time at this point, working on it.
Yeah, well, I haven't heard anybody object to it, I think.
Thank you. That's all.
Okay, then we will move on to the last item on the agenda. Everybody's been waiting for this, the cemetery update. So maybe Andrew, you want to take this one on?
I can jump in, and Matt, Paul, the mayor, whoever else has been involved in some of these conversations with the township, feel free. But I wanted to bring it here because obviously I've asked Mr. Semino, the law director, for some basic information because I feel like a lot of what we're getting right now is this is the way it's been done. So finding a baseline to work from for future meetings. But the key takeaway for today is that, you know, it's a priority. And I know the mayor's mentioned this, to get the budget passed for the cemetery. And for one reason or another, the township keeps canceling some of these meetings. So as it lays right now, or sits right now, I just had a conversation with Mr. Semino, and he is going to respond to Mr. Murdoch, who reached out to us, and you all should have received that email with the attachment, just to relay information. And I wanted to ask council tonight, but I'm going to call Mr. Semino immediately following this meeting. If we want to have a meeting with the township regarding their proposals. So the proposal that they brought to us was, number one, leaving the agreement altogether, moving down to a $24,000 per year stipend, or whatever you want to call it, towards the budget. Am I free, Rob? Is there anything else that I'm forgetting on that? I feel like there's a third one.
Yeah, the latest correspondence was
thank
for
you,
us
yeah.
to take on Grandview.
Grandview, yes.
The
Yeah,
sweetening the pot.
Right. So I wanted to bring that to council, no formal vote, but to make sure that you are all okay with him responding, at least on those 3 points. And, you know, the only reason I want to gather in a joint meeting is to approve the budget that Mr. Gabriel has put forth. So that's the big item. Matt, Paul, the mayor, if you guys want to chime in with some other things, that's the big thing for me. Just making sure that council is all kind of on the same page with that.
Yeah, we definitely need to get them to the table. It just feels like we're getting the runaround. You're getting promises and talk, and you try to. We're just trying to accomplish things, and it seems like we're taking 2 steps back for every step forward. And we need to get them to the table and just iron this out. I know they don't want to fund both cemeteries, but again, the way this union contract was written up, at this point, they don't have a choice. The only way they can get out of it, as you guys know, is if we allow them. I don't think that's a cost that the city wants to take on by ourselves. But we've had some empty promises in my eyes from the township, and I think we need to start holding them accountable. I think
there's been different dates proposed to them to get together, and for different reasons they've come up with, it's almost evading to want to get together. We keep wanting to push things off further in the year, and we can't keep complying to them and keep pushing it off. We're just going to have to actually get it done very soon, or else it'll never happen the way that it's going, according to the way that they're attempting not to want to get together, not to want to talk this over in the least. And I believe it's not fair in the least for them to attempt to get out of this binding agreement and pay the little bit that they want to after so many years. I mean, even though it was unforeseen about them taking on another cemetery, that's something that, well, unforeseen, but they still had this commitment for several years. So I believe we'll just have to come up with a quick agreement and some way, just let them know that a decision has to be made by a certain date. one way or another and have it finalized, or else the way it looks, this could be going on for months and we can't have that.
So I wanted to chime in, and there was, and I think all of you saw it, a message that Chelsea put out after, I assume, talking to our Lord Director. It's my opinion, we don't need to meet to approve the budget. It's my opinion that our contract in the Ohio Revised Code puts the financial responsibility of running the cemetery as a union cemetery in the hands of the Board of Trustees, which is, Matt, Paul, and the township trustee, Hank. So I don't know that we have to meet. That's my opinion. And I think the correspondence from Mr. Semino confirms that. I know it's a tradition. I know that's why we've done it. It's been in January, although neither the contract nor the Ohio Revised Code provides for a specific meeting in January. The only specific meeting provided for is in May, and that's a meeting we never have. So I always get frustrated when I actually read the details of what was agreed to by the city and the township, and nobody seems to abide by what's been agreed to. And now we seem to be in this this awkward position because we haven't met in January and the budget hasn't been approved. So that's my opinion anyway. Now, I don't know how to deal with that from your trustees' perspective, and I don't know if it's been brought up at any of your meetings. But I don't know. I'm a little frustrated. I wish, and I'm all for meeting with all of us if that's what it takes. But I guess I'm a little frustrated too.
And just to chime in real quick, we did discuss they could have been, parliamentary procedure if they wanted to move it to January. Those three could have made that decision. So I don't know. Again, that comes back to asking some of those basic questions of how have things been done. And one of the things you mentioned, Rob, was if we meet in a joint meeting, also asking for bylaws and creating those, because I think those are needed as well. And unless somebody can turn those up, those haven't been provided. So I think that is one additional thing in addition to the budget and approving that we should be asking those members to provide.
And I did talk to Mark about potential bylaws, and if he had any, he doesn't believe any bylaws were ever drawn up to his knowledge. So, yeah. And as Rob said, the city and the township came up with an agreement to operate the cemetery and make sure that the needs were met. And years back, it's my understanding that the township started trying to pull away because the cemetery had a surplus. And they were cutting their payments. They were getting refunded money. And as the budget continued to grow and the needs continued to grow, the township got comfortable paying less, get money back from the surplus, and having the cemetery use the surplus money to fill in the holes in the budget. And now we're in this situation. So it was set up to operate successfully, and they haven't been following the guidelines and the rules and the regulations, and now we're in this situation. So there definitely needs to be some changes with that. And the township needs to understand they can't just dictate that, hey, the cemetery has to send money back. They have to lower our annual amounts and operate it at a less cost, because the cemetery is going to suffer if we continue to do that. And we're at a point of no return now. So.
Yeah, I feel that the township, in years past, we have bent over backwards to help them, to collaborate, and they have always not followed through with a lot of stuff. And this is just another example. We spent all the money on the fire district and working on that. And, when they didn't have the levy to pass, they didn't think it was, they were wanting our help to help them. We were more than willing to help. And it's just time after time. there's no follow through. So I am very hesitant at this point to do anything with the township until they can start, showing follow through leadership. And, I am not in favor of, letting them off the hook on this.
This is just for discussion. We don't have any action coming up here. But Andrew, you're going to communicate with Mr. Semino, and I don't know what he's going to do. I guess he's going to give some sort of response to Chad Murdoch. But
Yeah.
we don't really have a meeting scheduled with them. I suppose that's one thing we can do, is have a meeting, try to get a meeting scheduled with them. Otherwise, does anybody else have anything else to contribute to the discussion?
Well, I do believe that this should be finished this month. And if we don't want to get together as it was in past years, I realize it's not a requirement. It's been more of a mutual agreement. Then myself, all for finalizing it for the end of this month. I know that there'll be a lot of opposition from the township, I'll say that, just from the comments that I had seen directly from the township.
And I don't want to leave out the mayor. I know he had to hop off for a second, but.
Yes, no, I'm not
is there
trying to, I know I was going to ask for his comments.
I'm here.
And just to reassure you, or everyone, that the trustees have reviewed the cemetery budget, and as trustees, we have approved this year's annual budget for the cemetery. So it has been done by the trustees. So
Have they received any money from the township?
Brian?
I don't believe we have yet, as of the last meeting.
I'm hesitating to answer because thus far, there hasn't been anything in stone of receiving anything from them. I know they've been putting that off as much as possible.
Well, that's another thing we're going to have to get straightened out. With that, we really don't have time.
No.
Because it's 2.5 months until Memorial Day. And I have a feeling that there'll be a strong effort to have a ceremony at the cemetery on that day. I'll be surprised if the military people aren't insistent about having something at the cemetery. So it doesn't give us much time, and we cannot have that place looking bad on Memorial Day. It's got to look correct with this. So I think we're at the point where we have to push the envelope.
And I know the part-time people are ready to come back. What I mean by very soon, probably by the end of the month, to start cleaning things up. I know the grass will be starting to grow soon. And so they should be coming back in the very near future. The date isn't cut in stone or anything, but it should be a lot sooner than last year.
Brian, did you have something you wanted to say? I noticed you unmuted yourself.
Well, I just been trying to get this all in, but I mean, I guess my question, but Matt already answered it, was did they already pass the budget as the board? And they did. So, I mean, I guess they're operating as normal right now. And I guess the plan would be to bring back the part-time staff as planned, as planned in the budget. So, I mean, I guess the only thing, I mean, to me, what are we really waiting on? There's really nothing to wait on per se. I mean, we want to have our meeting, but I guess they just have to pay it's a quarterly share, I believe. And so if they don't pay that, then I don't know what happens then. I mean, I guess.
I don't think there's any indication that they won't at this point. I do know that when we were talking about the budget and cuts back in December and January, that the township was on board with their full amount. And at that time, it was even discussed that if some cuts were made, that they would have no problem with the full amount and possibly even a little more. So that being said, they're playing games to get what they want.
Yeah.
Yes. And I know
it's been extremely frustrating.
And it was put off for the employees to have pay increases, and that's supposed to be coming up. When I say soon, we'll be having our meeting here at the end of the month.
Well, I would hope there wouldn't be any problem with getting the money they've committed. I view their concerns as more long-term. And so whether or not they've approved this year's budget and will be paying, I think we should assume they will be.
Right.
But their concerns are longer term, and certainly we all understand what their concerns are. And maybe those concerns should be the topic of any joint, township council discussion. But the operation and the regular order of things, and Mayor, the yearly, although I don't know we did it last year, celebration at the cemetery should go on as planned. I don't see why
No,
they should.
we didn't have it last year. There wasn't even a parade.
Right. I don't know if we'll be able to have a parade this year, but certainly maybe some sort of ceremony should be. I don't know what the rules are for parades or anything. Hopefully things are getting better, but whether they'll be better by then, it's always it's hard to know. But
I thought that sorry, Rob. I thought that the state lifted the ban on parades and gatherings. I believe they did.
Oh, okay, good. I didn't know that. That's good. So then I think we should go ahead and plan on what we normally would plan on for that event this year. And I'm sure the township will be on board for that. Like I said, I think the discussions going forward are more long-term, what their, future commitment in it. We've talked about other options. We don't have to kind of deliberate them here, but I think we need to talk about them to the trustees and, hear what they have to say, and then just talk about the future of the cemetery.
And I think that's why the joint meeting is so crucial right now, is so that they can tell us, we can get all that out in the open.
Long overdue. You're right.
We've had, sorry, Rob, just to jump in real quick. Brian, one item that we did not put on here, and I don't know if it should be on personnel or if you want to put it on planning, but I don't want to forget about the budget. So just to put it, I know, Brian, you mentioned you wanted to speak about it. So just wherever that fits best, I just want to mention it. There's been a lot of big ticket items on the agendas this evening, but that's one I don't want to forget.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to make it quick because this meeting has been very long tonight. But yeah, I just want to just put it out there real quick and highlight some of the big changes.
Are we doing it now, or do you want to wait till the end?
Are we done with the cemetery?
I think so. Yeah. Go ahead. Why don't you go ahead and do it now?
Okay. So just wanted to, since we are going to have this on the, well, it'll be a special meeting for approval next week. I want to make sure to just kind of highlight the big changes this meeting. So last week we sent a draft of this budget. It's been tweaked a little bit since, but we presented it to the mayor, the service director, Cheryl Wood, and Tim Calfee. We started with the tax budget that council passed last summer. In the handouts you have, I think we label it the current budget with carryover. That's what council passed in the summer. And then the other column, the revised permanent budget, the new totals, that's on the far right. That's what's going through now. So most of the numbers you'll see are identical. But I just want to point out some of the big changes that we made since then. We did take out a lot of capital in 2020. So some of those items were added back in 2021. So that we might have a little bit more capital this year than in years past. Like the plow truck, that was an example of one that was deferred from last year and went into this year. The reason we added most of the stuff back was the income tax did not turn out, although it was down, it did not turn out quite as bad as we anticipated. It was down a little over 3% in 2020 versus 2019. So we'll continue to be a little bit conservative with our budgeting, and still kind of watching out because there are some businesses still that aren't doing well and that have reduced some staffing. But with that said, we did add back a lot of this stuff. And some of the big changes that we did incorporate include the fire truck. Where we have it standing now is half of it's being budgeted to pay out of the general fund and half of it being paid from the capital fund. So the general fund, if you go to page 4 of the appropriation sheet, you'll see, you'll see a $325,000 there towards the bottom of page 4. And then you also see it on page 25 in the capital fund. The reason we were anticipating putting part of it in the general fund was because we have a little over $1 million that goes in from the safety levy every year. So this would be a good use of those funds. And then that way we wouldn't completely drain out our capital fund because it would not support the entire purchase for that. You also see that we did add the plow dump truck back. Half of that is paid out of the capital fund, which is on page 24. And that should be $79,000. Yeah, it's on the very top of page 24. The other half of the plow truck is split between the water, sewer, and the storm funds. You'll see them kind of sprinkled throughout. Let's see, on pages 27 and 33.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you mind giving the line, our fund number?
For which one?
Whatever you're yelling out, because most probably looking at it digitally. If we might not have the page numbers.
I'm looking at an Excel, Brian. So if you could,
okay. Yeah. So the fire truck that I said on page 4 and 25. So that would be, it's in the general fund. It's under 101, 106. And then the numbering is 57743, and it's called fire engine. We'll see it there. And then the other half of that would be page 25 in the hard copy, which is in the 553 fund. That's the capital fund. And it's 553.557. And then the same ending number, the 57743 fire engine. And it's 325,000.
That's around line 1036.
Is that, oh, that's the line number?
The row number of the Excel sheet.
Yeah, it's quite a big document there. Yeah. And then the water meter, let's see, the truck, the plow truck. Page 24, which is also in Fund 553, but it's 553.554. Then it's 57812. You'll see 2.5 ton dump truck with salt and plow. That's where you'll see the 79,000. Is that good for that? Okay. All right, you guys can ask me any questions you want after you get a chance to review this. That was the big thing we did. I wrote down pages 27 and 33, but it's just the water fund and the sewer fund. We added a new dead end for those water meters. It's in the 670 and the 677 fund. It's $34,459 in each fund. And that's our split of the principal and interest payments. That's just something new that we did not have in the tax budget. Let's see. The only other thing I really mentioned I want to bring out was towards the bottom. Let's see what page. Yeah, it'd be on the very last page, the 836 fund. We added the $100,000 Jack Schaefer Trust. That's not the city's money. That's why we put it in the trust fund. That was just there to as a placeholder, and then as we're authorized, we will be sending that money out. So that's not really a city council action. That's that committee. So, but they needed some place to kind of pot that money. So we just put it in a trust fund that's not part of the city's money. So we already talked about the spring cleanup, so I won't bring that one back up. That was a big change too. Other than that, I mean, most everything's pretty close to what you guys approved in the tax budget in the summer. So, you know, if there's any questions you guys have now, or if you guys just want to contact me throughout the week, if anything you can see or think of, please let me know.
Any questions now for Brian? Okay, well, we're at the end of the planning committee agenda. Dare I ask if there's a management update?
I think I would point out that when we're talking a little bit about the project with the landscaping, that we did put the 3750 in towards the paying for that survey or that plan to be put together. So we have shown at one point that we were supporting looking at it. They will be around to present. They're supposed to see the county commissioners, and then they will come to council to show what they've done with that. I would think that most of you have already seen the plan because there were other opportunities. If you went to those things, that's what you're going to see with that. So I'll let that go there. For when we talked about doing the parking lot, we thought this was low fruit in terms of being able to take what was given to give some sort of a touch along those lines to that parking lot, and it could be done without having to spend millions to make an impact with it. I think if you want to get at some idea what it looks like, if you go down and look at the back of Eric Hummel's building, which is the last block before Prospect Street, he's done something like that there, and it does make a big difference on how people, he didn't give up very many parking places, but he may put some green in there, and it looks nice.
Okay. All right, then I will adjourn the planning committee meeting at 8:01.
And at 8:01, we'll call the Personnel Committee to order. First item from the mayor, 2 new contracts. Mayor Seaman.
I talked with you about this involves 2 people. I do not want to use names with this at this point in time. But one, we put money in for a raise for the HR person. She's been with us for 4 years. She was the lead negotiator in the last set of negotiations that we have. And she does anything we ask of her. It's done well. And she does stuff we don't ask of her. She volunteers and takes on stuff that is outside of her description, I would guess, as HR person. the raise was already approved last July. We budgeted for, I should say, and approved. The budgeting was approved. And it was reaffirmed when we passed the temporary budget this year. My original plan was for her to become an employee. But I think at this point in time, that she still wants to remain on a contract. With that, that does give her some latitude to do some other things with that. And at the same time, it probably saves us $25,000–$30,000 if she stays on contract. So and even though this money's been approved, we have to change the contract. So it will be issuing a new contract. And that's what I'll be asking for at the meeting in March. The other person has done all of our work on the pandemic, keeping track of everything that goes on. I've asked that gentleman, and he's already filmed it, to do a presentation for the State of the City. We are in the process of filming that, and then we're going to broadcast it and put it on the website. With that, we have a few other people that are not going to be presented at this time, and I'm just bringing that particular position in as for a matter of discussion because we have some things that we have to reaffirm. The job description is nearly complete for that position, and I will get it out to you when it's correct. But we have some other people that we have to make some adjustments for to bring them up to where they would be. But these are not huge dollar issues, other than adding a person is. For the HR person, it's adding just a little bit. And actually, since she did not become an employee, it saved us quite a bit of money with that. I just wanted to inform you about these two positions. They're critical to the work that we do out of this building. And to the benefit of all of the employees that we have around the city. So,
Mayor, the question is: the second position, the one that we discussed, a new position, or is it going to be an increase in pay and responsibilities for existing position?
That particular position was partially 40% was paid for. To be the safety officer for the city. We've increased that and want to make him full-time here. He's being paid. Kimball had it set up that he was paid out of the wastewater treatment plant, and I am not comfortable with that. And we need to make that change.
Couldn't that be paid for? Still a portion of that from the other departments. I mean, from the other, like from water. I mean, can you still take those?
Yeah, it will be spread out. Yes. It will.
Okay, because that position requires him to go everywhere, and I just
as a safety officer, it is for everybody.
Okay. Yeah. We also used to have a position that Larry Schaefer was, correct?
Yes, that's
so this position's already been on the books.
Yes.
Okay. Wasn't sure if it was still there or.
Well, I don't know that it's still there in that way, shape, or form, because of when we went almost bankrupt, there was a lot of stuff cut out and things rearranged. And I think that our finance director made the decision then to move his pay in. He works the other time at the wastewater treatment plant, he took it all out of there because that was a self-funded fund and not in the general fund with that. But I didn't realize he had done that. And of course, I wasn't the mayor when a lot of that stuff was done yet. But I'd like to keep the audits in proper shape. And I'm not comfortable with that coming out of there.
And Mayor, you'd like to move forward on both of these now at the next meeting?
I don't think we'll be able to do the one that quickly. It'll probably have to be
Just the HR one?
just the HR one.
Okay. Okay. If there's no other questions, we'll slide right into any management update, and with that, we're done.
We're done.
Okay.
All right, I will call Information Systems Committee meeting to order at 8:09 p.m. Just a couple discussion items for you guys, and some of this stuff we've kind of talked about throughout the evening. First thing I have on the agenda is the cybersecurity piece. I'm going to continue to try to find some more cybersecurity options. I did find one and I sent it out to everybody. I'm working to find some others, trying to deal through the spam that I'm getting to try to figure out who's an actual company and who's not. So it's made it a little more difficult, but I am continuing to work on that. So if anybody has any ideas or questions or any suggestions as far as where we could look for that, the company that I did find, I did meet with the gentleman through a Teams meeting, and it was a lot cheaper than what Quality IP had found for us. So I'm going to continue to look for some other options. So does anyone have questions on that? I figured me going last and this being the longest meeting ever, that no one's going to ask me anything. This is awesome. The next item is the city website, and that has been brought up a lot tonight. Andrew and myself have really been looking at our website. We have it, it's there, it's a tool. And if we haven't learned anything throughout this pandemic, is the fact that we need to use social media, and we need to use our website, and we need to use as many forms of communication as possible. So we're trying to go in there and clean it up a little bit, update, provide some more information. I think that simple things like being, we do post where the leaf cleanup is, but it's not very clear. Updating that to make sure it's easy to read, the information's up to date. That's going to be really important moving forward. And we're learning that we need this technology for sure. So Andrew, do you have anything to add on the website piece?
No, I think it's been covered tonight. The only thing I'll mention too is figuring out when you and I submitted some of these help or contact us in that, who that goes to, because both of us submitted those and have not received a response. So I'm kind of curious where those end up.
How long ago did you submit them?
Kind of 3 weeks, 2 weeks.
Yeah. So I think it's a Spectrum Media, is that who does it? Question for them on where those end up and how we can incorporate those mailboxes with someone or multiple people to kind of keep an eye on.
Okay. So it's not an internal problem?
No. These, I'm assuming there's a mailbox set up through the website and it's an info @ or contact us at RavennaOH. So it should be a separate email box that somebody should have access to. We can get that squared away after, outside of the this committee meeting. But
generally speaking, I believe the website does work in terms of functioning.
It does.
It's keeping it up that's the problem.
Exactly. And we don't want to put stuff on there that we have to keep up constantly. So there's a fine line there too. But also we want to make sure that we share information with the community so they can easily go and find it.
Well, I think the website's the best bet for that. But it has to draw people to it.
Absolutely.
And we need to make sure we're receiving the information. If we're asking residents to, information, get a hold of us, where's it going? Who's getting it? Who's responding?
that was it for me. Yeah.
Any questions on the website piece? It's just a discussion for now. All right, downtown Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and I'll try and make this quick. So we have a downtown Wi-Fi, if you're aware, that was put in by the previous IT person, director, if you want to call him that. And right now, as I hear from Quality IP, they don't have any way of editing, making any fixes to it outside of turning it on and turning it off. So when Rob, I know you've mentioned in the past of tracking individuals at businesses or just in the downtown area, creating a landing page if there's an event going on like Art on Main that you could use to send people to Bean and Baker or somewhere else. So what they've come up with and what I've asked Katie and briefly discussed, well, let me back up. That piece of equipment requires a subscription that we currently have. The hardware is paid for, but you do need a subscription to use it. That subscription is $2,200 a year. That's not coming up until January of 2022. This is 21, so 22. So still a ways off. Question for council is if we want to take a look at updating that now, and that would be updated using Ubiquiti products, which they have throughout City Hall, I believe, for the Wi-Fi. If Quality IP is not here, that's a product that we would still have access to and be able to edit internally. There's no subscription fee for it. And it would come in less than the $2,200 to put this in the downtown area. And it would, these pieces of equipment would be not only on City Hall, but they would be on each of the, well, in discussions with Finney, this is proposed on top of either light posts or at the intersections, so it can be transmitted down Main Street in either direction.
City Hall is not the only place you can pick that they have a piece of equipment. Let's put them in other places around the city.
Yeah, and so this is just for the downtown Wi-Fi that I'm speaking to right now.
Well, there's still more than one place it generates from.
The Wi-Fi signal?
Yeah.
The only thing that we have is right here on top of City, above your office, and there might be some. The name is jumping.
Like a booster?
Yeah, something like that.
Repeaters.
Repeater. Thank you, Tim. You know, something like that, but I don't believe the bottom line, there's a subscription for this. The takeaway, there's a subscription for the current system we have. Quality IP cannot edit the current system we have. So we have a maximum, I believe, of 10 megabytes per second. It's going to drop off the further away from City Hall you get. So the question I have for council, as we're coming out of the pandemic, as people are gathering in the downtown area, do we want to look at purchasing new equipment for the downtown area that we have more control over, and there is no subscription service. So it doesn't need a decision, but I wanted to throw it out there for discussion because we
How much?
I have it's $1,800 for everything for the downtown area.
That's the
That
new
system,
service.
that original system was purchased through a grant that NDS got for us.
Correct. Yes.
And I think it runs in my mind, it was about $20,000, something.
I think it was about 30, but that was to install the Wi-Fi. When we got the Wi-Fi installed, then our IT guy promoted the Cisco product called, I think it was called Meraki.
Yeah.
And that's what I think Andrew's talking about. It could just be a matter of who has the account. It's probably under our former IT, and I don't know if Cisco can help us unlock that. But I'm all for if this other service, and I'm not sure, Ubiquiti, is that what you said, the companies? If they can do the same thing, that would be great. At the time we installed the Wi-Fi, we looked at some options, and then we kind of never really followed through. One of them was to offer individual vendors, companies downtown, that they could buy into our Wi-Fi. We'd have to put repeaters and routers and whatever equipment needed in their stores, but then they could have all these analytics. They could see how many people visit on a regular basis. They could buy into what Andrew was talking about. If we have Art on Main or Balloon Affair, and Bean and Baker wants to advertise 2-for-1 coffee to people walking down the street, it would pop up on their phone. So we had all these great ideas, they just never really went anywhere. But I'm all for if this other software can do the same kind of thing to, reinvigorate those ideas. I think it's an opportunity we never really took full advantage of.
Is there a probability of having increased megabytes more than 10?
That's not
Yes.
so bad. If you can get 10, you probably, whatever we have downtown now is not very, I don't even pick up, I used to pick it up when I drive, home every night. I'd stop at Prospect in Maine and all of a sudden the Wi-Fi would kick in. Now I don't even get it anymore. So I don't even, some of those repeaters, Mayor, may not even be functioning.
Yeah, they may even be gone.
And that's my
Well,
point,
yeah.
that we had the power outage, late last year, and I came down here and parked at the courthouse and brought my laptop and did some work. So it was slow, but it was enough. And when you went anywhere else, I was not getting a signal. But at least the one that's right on top of City Hall.
And I
you could,
can't tell you where they are, to tell you the truth.
So it was just for discussion. If we want to pursue this, I can bring it to committee if you'd like next week. So you have a more cohesive conversation, and I'll get quotes and all along that, but wanted to throw it out there.
I think we're all in agreement, though, aren't we, that having Wi-Fi downtown is a good idea and something that we should continue to have. And if we can increase the quality and performance of it, I think very much that's something we should do.
That's a big factor increasing the quality of it. And that way it could be picked up, more than a block away or a block and a half, whatever.
All right. Well, on that, does anyone else have anything to add, or do we have a management update?
No, I think I gave it to you.
I think. All right, so I will end our meeting at 8:20 p.m. then.
You're my hero.
That should be everything. So, yeah, we'll see you all next week, the 22nd at 7 o'clock.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Good night.
Night.
Night.